The White House offers America's help in the search for the terrorists who murdered 12 people in Paris, with the prime suspects, two brothers, still on the run. President Obama called the brutal rampage a cowardly and evil attack on free expression. Let's bring in someone with experience in handling crises like this. Karl Rove was senior advisor and deputy chief of staff to President George W. Bush. He is also a Fox News contributor. Give the president and the administration a grade, Karl, if you would, on how you think they responded to this.
Well, right tone, right words. I wish they'd gone a little bit further in depicting this as an act of radical Islam terrorism. But good on the words, and particularly I thought Secretary Kerry's comments were strong. I think the president would have been advised to have canceled the visit to Arizona and remained at the White House. It would have given it a greater sense of gravity, that he was on top of it, that he was, reaching out to the French leadership, that he was meeting with American security officials about the ramifications of this for us. But instead, he's off on a campaign-style event in Arizona. I don't give him good marks for that. But overall, the president said the right thing. The Secretary of State said the right thing. The administration expressed its strong support for the French people and for the acts of the French government and condemned it in strong terms.
There seems to be reticence to use the word or the phrase Islamic terror at the White House. Why?
I don't understand it, because that's what it is, and one of the things that we need to do is to divide the vast majority of the members of the Muslim community from these extremists, and you can't start doing that until you ratchet up the pressure by depicting this as exactly what it is. Dan Henninger, I think, had a terrific piece today in the Wall Street Journal. It not only made the point that this is a question of our values versus their values, but he also made the point that we need to remember that this is a constant struggle for us. The same day that these people were killed in Paris, 37 people were killed in Yemen by a bomb. Last month we had the incident in Australia. We had the attack in Pakistan, in which Taliban gunmen, Islamic terrorists, went into a school and systematically killed 132 school children by shooting them in the head or the heart. And we have a violent opponent against us. It comes from a perversion of a great religion. It is radical Islam, and we need to confront it.
I wonder about, some of the second guessing, because people are second guessing. France is supposed to have such a vaunted intelligence service that didn't pick up word of this attack. There is the video camera surveillance system in and around the streets of Paris that so far apparently has not proved as useful as some authorities might have thought it should be. I just wonder about the prospects for this kind of thing happening in this country, and whether we'll say, oh well, we should have done more with the Patriot Act, or we should have done more surveillance, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Look, there is going to be a lot of second guessing. The only second guessing I have is that the French knew that this was that this magazine was threatened. They had police protection, and something happened to break down the sort of the exterior barrier, if you will, to the building and allow the attack to take place. But this has got to serve as a reminder that the enemy, our enemy, has to be right occasionally. We have to be right all the time. That means we need to have in place all the available tools for law enforcement, for intelligence, for the military, and for the diplomatic strength of the United States to be brought to bear on this problem. And we're in a war, and we cannot weaken it. And look, the French have this. These people were apparently on the radar scope. Some of them may have traveled to Syria. It shows the problem of an open society like the French have and that we have to these kind of threats, and ought to be a reminder that we have to deploy every resource at our disposal in order to keep events from this happening. But all they got to do is get it once. We got to be right 100% of the time.
Yeah. Speaking about being right 100% of the time, we are a week into the new year. Karl is checking back on his predictions record for 2014. He has some new predictions for 2015 in his Wall Street Journal column. You did pretty well in 2014.
Well, I did and I didn't. I got 13 political predictions right and 6 wrong, but the ones that I didn't get right are doozies. I thought Republicans would lose governorships. They picked them up. I thought Kathleen Sebelius would be hanging on as Health and Human Services Secretary. She bailed. I thought Democrats would be running for the doors on Obamacare, calling for major changes. Instead, much to their political disadvantage, they stayed stuck right through the election. I was very lucky, however, on the popular culture picks. I got 3 out of 5 right. Seahawks winning the Super Bowl, Peyton Manning getting his 5th MVP, and Miley Cyrus fading. But that was completely luck. I have about as much, confidence. I have no confidence in my popular culture and movie picks.
All right, so
I make them anyway.
What is your sure thing prediction for 2015?
Well, there are a lot of them that I think are going to come to pass. I mean, I think, for example, we are going to find out that that a lot of Republican presidential candidates either don't get into the race or get into the race and don't go very far because of the challenge of raising money. It's not going to cost $88 million to run for president in the Republican primary, but it's going to cost a lot of money. $88 million was what Mitt Romney spent. Hillary Clinton's going to run. Elizabeth Warren will not after flirting with it. I don't think Joe Biden's going to run, though we will certainly hear a lot from him in the way of continuing gaffes. I think the most interesting things are in the Congress. I think Republicans are going to send the president a steady stream of bills throughout the year that have bipartisan support, and we're going to see the most productive period of sustained bipartisan legislating that we've seen in a long while. The question is whether or not the president is going to sign those bills. If he vetoes a lot of them, after a while it's going to wear thin with the Democrats.
That's the question. Carl, thank you.
You bet. Thank you, John.